Now, it's not like the Panthers that ran away and hid in this series, but they were the feistier, more energetic, more opportunistic team. And your man, Sergei Bobrovsky, how weird would this be? You've been writing this man's obituary, writing this man's epitaph since he signed with the team. It seemed like a good idea for what, about 10 minutes, Libby, until we saw him play?
I don't know. You were ahead of me. You started calling him blind. You swore that he had a vision problem.
Yes, we signed a guy with a cataract. Unbelievable. A tick, I think we discovered. Did he have a tick? Yeah, he had one of those things where he does like some weird winking all of a sudden. And you're thinking, are you trying to tell me, like that you're saying something, but you really don't mean it? What is it that you're doing, Bobrovsky? Communicate with him. He was communicating with his banker. That's all anybody was talking about. That he was making his $10 million that Dale Talon doled out for him when he could have signed any number of other attractive free agents.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
And a very pleasant good morning, everybody. Great to be with you here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest and one Mike Lubie Lubitz, and the Defo Show, also known as Dead Wrong Alley. As we might have come up again. I don't know that we ever eliminated the idea of the Miami Heat winning this series against the Boston Celtics. Certainly loomed as at least a possibility. We both very tepidly suggested the Celtics would win the series in 7 games, figuring that they couldn't close it out on the Heat's home wood. I was resigned to the idea that, and I don't know why. I mean, Boston had just come off this big effort against the Philadelphia 76ers. We should have used some horse racing handicapping logic, which is as good as Mage looked in winning the Kentucky Derby. There's always the bounce effect, where, and this is especially true of teams that we've watched here in South Florida, where they look wonderful one night and then go right back to being dog meat the next. But the Miami Heat have shown some kind of late season resiliency here, Lubie. In fact, they're not even the same Heat team that they were during the regular season anymore. And that's great when your team catches fire in the postseason. And they win against the Boston Celtics last night, which I don't know that was Ali over Sonny Liston, 1964, Miami Beach Convention Center, when Ali literally was absolutely right. He couldn't have characterized that victory any more succinctly than to say, I shook up the world. I shook up the world. And he did. Nobody had this guy winning. Everybody wanted to see this loudmouth, popping off kid from Louisville get his face beaten in by the big bad bear, Sonny Liston, who was very likely a candidate to do it. If anybody was going to do it, this guy was going to shut his mouth forever, right? He was going to have a busted lip. He would never be able to speak again, right? The whole course of, I guess, that whole, cultural part of time there for 50 years with Ali would have been altered had Sonny Liston landed one right hand, but he couldn't do it. And last night, it looked like it was going to be, routine city, did it not? Boston Celtics up 9 at halftime. They had a 13-point lead. And the game teetered like a lot of NBA games do when it's somewhat of a mismatch where the underdog team is in there and it's 35 all. Maybe they even take a 1-point lead. Then all of a sudden, wham, they get hit with a run. They're down double digits, and that's the way it remains as the home team, in this case, the Boston Celtics, deemed to be the superior team by almost every expert that looked at this series. And, you thought, okay, they probably win the third quarter by a couple of points. That puts them down 12, and they coast away to like an 8-point win. And the only thing that would have come into question would have been, of course, the point spread. But that was wiped out the door. Did anybody have the guts? I mean, based on our opinion, did anybody have the guts to just say, those guys are crazy, man. They don't know what they're talking about. Nobody knows what they're talking about. 8.5 points is a lot of points. I'm going to forsake the points, and I'm going to lay 5 with the Heat. Imagine what kind of price you could have gotten on that, Michael.
You mean for the series?
I'm talking about last night's game.
Because I thought this spread yesterday was utterly ridiculous. And I did not shy against it. I thought the Heat are only 3% chance of winning. What? And 8.5 is what it got to. I thought was stupid. I was like, okay, so these people haven't watched the playoffs at all. I'm like, he may lose his game, I guess, but just the idea of having that as an Eastern Conference final spread is just, it's like an NBA. In NFL, like most games are 3 to 5 points, so you'll see some games at 12. It's like, that's a big number for an NFL game.
I think that performance that they had against Philadelphia in Game 7 probably had and bettors become delusional.
Yeah, it's weird.
And the line makers are onto that. And Boston looked to be so superior in closing out that series, but let's not forget they had to go 7 games in the first place against a Philadelphia team that was. I mean, if they weren't on the surface dysfunctional, it certainly seems now like and maybe that's just the natural aftermath of losing. But I mean, look what's happened since. Harden says, $37 million is not enough. I need basketball freedom. He's like Richie Havens all of a sudden. Freedom, freedom.
Yeah, okay.
If anything was going to sink Richie Havens' career, who was a very talented guy in the folk singing era. I don't know. Do you remember Richie Havens at all? He was a big part of like the whole Woodstock movement
I
there.
don't remember him, but I know the name. Yes, I know.
But his most famous song is the one that was probably his worst. What was it not? I mean, where the guy's just saying in a monotone voice, "Freedom, freedom, freedom," and you're thinking, you want to hand a guy a 50 and say, "Here, take some guitar lessons, Richie. Learn a couple of new chords." But that's interesting that your crowning achievement would also seem to be the worst thing that you ever did in your life. And maybe that was the case with Jason Tatum in that 51 points because he was a vanishing act there. He was all James Harden in the fourth quarter yesterday. Had a bunch of turnovers, played a really silly fourth quarter. The Celtics were still in there with a shot, were they not? At what point did you become convinced, Lubie, that the Heat were going to come away with the victory? At what point? After the third quarter, Celtics pop right out in the fourth quarter. I think they rattled off the first 7 points.
Got it down to 5.
Yeah, got it down to 5, and you thought, okay, here we go. Typical NBA game. The upstart underdog out-of-town team comes in here, and they make a representative showing. They give the other team's fans a giant scare, and then it's a big celebration as in an ugly fashion, your team, in this case the Miami Heat, goes down by 1, and the Celtics take more significantly. Once you get that 1 win, man, that's there. That's etched in stone, and you only need to win 3 more to win the series. But so when were you convinced? I mean, at what point in the game did you decide, okay, that's it, man, he'd have this one in the bag?
I mean, I still, until it got, and it's like it needs to get under a minute, and to me, you need to have a 5 or bigger lead for me.
When that final second evaporated off the clock, you were finally, okay, good.
When Jimmy hit that fucking 3, when it was like,
yeah, that was a dagger.
And they used the entire clock. And they had a nice enough lead where I thought they'd be okay, but then he flung it up, and it was like, oh, well. And then it went in, and Harlan almost fell off of his chair. And he's literally using words like freaking in a call. Like, it's so funny what Harlan gets hailed for are the things that disgust me. When he's
Harlan's he's a hard listen. He really is.
Butler, I'm like, why is a broadcaster yelling out the word freaking? I'm like, that's fucking weird. I'm like, I didn't need that. That was
he's closer and closer to going insane, Kevin Harlan. maybe that's the unfortunate ugly fate of an announcer who's a screamer.
Like Mayo hates him. We aren't the biggest of fans. Literally calling him Harlan.
You know what? He was great when we had him on for an interview, which is interesting. Remember we had him on the show that one time?
The Amigo used to have him on. Like we have Ian. The Amigo would have Harlan on every couple of weeks, and he was a nice guy, and he knows the game obviously, but the yelling gets it's. Like,
but he wasn't screaming during the interview. You were expecting him to say, "How the hell are you? Great to be on your show, Defo."
Like, it's not that he's bad at it; he just yells a lot.
It's too much. Yeah, I've noticed a few things about play-by-play guys that are hailed as being geniuses, and a lot of people are onto the Kevin Harlan bandwagon. About
people love him. No, they call him the legendary Kevin Harlan. What a great call! Which call was better? I'm like, what? Yelling freaking is not a thing.
Screaming, man.
Sense. I'm like, why is he yelling freaking?
Mike Breen is more subdued during the actual, course of the 24 seconds that a team possesses the ball, but he does gear it up and has the same emphasis points every time a shot is taken and made, which is kind of strange. But he has a nice team with him with Van Gundy and Mark Jackson. They play off each other well. And Van Gundy, it's just so weird because I can't help but think that this is the guy in Night Shift, right? You look at that face and you're like, only a mother could love it, right? Stan got lucky, man. Stan got the looks in that family. Stan Van Gundy, who's also a lot of fun to listen to, and he has a good perspective on things. But he was all over Jimmy Butler also last night, in a much more, you would have to say, understated fashion than Kevin Harlan. Surprisingly, I mean, maybe one time, he's going to go off and just say, "Hey, fucking Jimmy Butler."
That's what I was waiting for.
The problem is he's got that syndrome where when you're screaming the entire time, anytime something happens, and having done my share of play-by-play, you really have to watch this. I mean, but usually you would have the crowd kind of ride along with you a little bit and give you the inspiration to reach higher emotional levels. I mean, I think that's fair with announcers. The crowd's erupting. You're naturally going to be, speaking maybe a little bit more loudly and pronounced in those moments when something really exciting is happening. But it's the the guy that starts out an NFL game or a college football game, and there's the routine handoff, the old feeling out process, where you know that the first play is going to be a 3-yard run up the middle, and the announcer's already at that fever pitch of like, "Oh my God, can you believe that? The courage of this man to take it up the middle like that. What do you think there, Joe?" And you're saying it's like 2nd and 7 with 14 minutes and 53 seconds left to go in the first quarter. I don't know that you can be going 8 then, but the Heat last night. What was the key adjustment in the game, Mike Lubie? We discussed this on Defo and 5, and I came up with it. I know what the big adjustment that was made at halftime was.
You sound like John Madden, but go on.
Make your shots.
Whoa.
Eric Spoelstra was up there with a grease board, and he was invoking his best Newt Rockney speech. Win one for the Gipper. I think even Pat came down into the locker room there. Did you see him leave the arena there very briefly? Probably went into the locker room and said, "You know what you got to do, guys? You got to make your shots." And that's what they did. They made shots in the second half, came out, blitzed the Boston Celtics in the third quarter. Final tally there, Heat 46 and the Celtics 25. A radical turnaround. They go from being down 9 at halftime to, what is that, being up 10 at the end of the third quarter. Is that correct? 12. Is my math correct on that? 12? Okay.
They're up 12.
All right. So maybe my math is off there slightly, or I have the score wrong. But 46 points in the third quarter. I believe that was the differential, 46-25. Is that possible? They were down 9 at the half.
It was a 22 or 21 point turnaround.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. They win the third quarter by 11 points.
Yes. Or 21 points.
It was 21 points. Yeah. So they're up 12. Okay. Good job there, Lubie. You want to finish off balancing my checking account?
No, I'm okay.
That's an easy one. It's Blutarski, 0.0. That's what this business will do to you, man. It's a cruel business. That's for sure. But everybody dead wrong in the business about the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics so far. This one game does not a series make. The Celtics, as we've been saying, Jekyll and Hyde.
They'll do look, that stretch in the second. We'll see more of that, but we'll also. That's the thing is the Heat were playing weirdly erratic for that. That's what the Celtics do. He usually don't just give away.
And Marcus Smart was like having the most brilliant floor game I've ever seen a guy with 3 points, to his credit, having in the history of basketball. I mean, he was Casey fucking Jones last night. He really was. He was great. Yeah. Great passing too. I mean, really on the money stuff. He was really, the main impetus behind anything that was happening on offense. Tatum had a big first half, but then vanishing act again. I mean, all Houdini team in the
he's used to
fourth.
You could see it with those travels. He's used to teams are running around so lost that he gets wide open threes. Those 3 threes he made where he woke up in game 6 were wide open.
Yes.
Like, he should make them. He's a superstar. A superstar should never be that. Jimmy Butler's never that open. Like, they fucking hound Jimmy Butler. Jason Tatum should not be wide open at the end of a game. Like, that changed the series. If the Sixers, they were winning. If they just got out to those threes, they win that game. And the Celtics are in here. So that's what cut him off guard was that's what puts me off about that last 6 minutes of the second quarter was like literally Jimmy Butler came back. They had held it down. Butler was out. And somehow they actually extended a lead. Butler came back and they got really fucking lazy. Like on both ends of the floor, they were playing super sloppy on defense. And on offense, instead of just letting Jimmy run the offense, find open shooters, pull it away from Lowry, Jimmy just let them. Jimmy did nothing in the entire second quarter. And the Celtics ran away. And I was like, that's why I didn't freak out.
I thought, I said it earlier this morning on our Defo and 5. I nearly texted you that playoff Jimmy has become preseason Jimmy.
See, I didn't. I knew what they were doing, and I knew what Jimmy was doing, and I never got anxious in that game. Just first of all, to me, we've talked about this. This series is gravy. Should it be? Maybe not, but it is. They were an 8 seed. They almost lost to the fucking Bulls. They did lose to the Hawks. Yeah. This series is gravy to me. 1, 2. The national media has been so dumb that I know they're not going to just get rant. They're just not going to. Like, this team hates when people disrespect them. They love it, but they hate it, and there's no way that blip was going to be the game. I knew it. I'm like, just oof. And Spoelstra took a timeout at the right time. And I was like, guys, just fucking breathe.
Okay? Everybody woke up, though. I mean, not only was Butler brilliant, because he was hitting highly contested shots.
Yes.
By good defenders on the Boston Celtics, who do have some guys that look like they can stick with you, like Velcro. And they were challenging Jimmy Butler's shots. He made a couple of shots from the baseline there from like 13 to 17 feet. In succession, and wow, I mean, those were great shots, tough shots, and then the way that he was maneuvering under the basket, he looked like Hakeem Olajuwon under there. I mean, tipping balls and getting to loose balls. That was a big thing. Mazzulli, is it Mazzulli or Missoula? Missoula. Yeah, okay. I mean, that was another big question. Would he be out coached by Eric Spoelstra? And he was in this sense. Spoelstra told his team at halftime, "Listen, guys, we've got to make shots." 16 to 31 from 3-point range. This is totally uncharacteristic of what this Heat team did there in the regular season. All of it, all throughout the playoffs. And everybody was hot at a different time.
I don't know how much you can count on that. I don't. But look, they did it for an entire series versus the Bucks. Like, Gabe, Vincent, and Martin were great in that series, and they were versus the Knicks. So it was like, okay, if these guys can just wake up.
They were both great last night, both of them.
They were great last night.
Yeah. Vincent was terrific, and Caleb Martin hit huge shots at critical points.
Yep.
Where all of a sudden you were looking at the double and triple teaming of Jimmy Butler, and Butler made that one pass out to the corner to Martin under extremely difficult circumstances. Looked like John Stockton all of a sudden took the floor. Martin just goes right up with a jumper very confidently, and that was something I guess that Jimmy Butler was alluding to after the game. You never know, But we were talking about it yesterday. I mean, of what significance are most of these statements? Of course, the winning team is going to be euphorically embracing their coach and all the great stuff, and talk about the teamwork and how we believe in ourselves, which I guess they do. I mean, they must at this point.
No, they do.
And this was a team then that, I mean, you talk about peeling yourself off the mat. They were finished. It was El Finito. They were going to lose and forever be held in infamy as having the distinction of being the first team ever to play your way out of the postseason after qualifying as either a 7th or an 8th seed.
Yep.
They were going to be the first team ever. Now, it was only 4 times that this has happened, but
still,
that was something that was probably going to hold up for a long period of time. Because it's hard to lose 2 games in a row under those circumstances to teams that finished essentially OOP, as they say in dog racing, out of the picture, my friend.
And 9 and 10 are not playoff teams.
No, they're schleppers.
7 is a legit playoff team.
Yeah, all right. I mean, you could say they could cut the playoffs down to 6 teams in each conference. And that would be cool, right? Because the 7th and 8th team rarely do anything. They usually get eliminated right away. Now the other thing that's weird is, the Heat came within an eyelash. I mean, had they beaten the Atlanta Hawks, they would have played the Celtics in the first round as a 2 versus 7.
Yeah.
And so this series would have been happening already. But it looked a lot more balanced once we got to the third quarter, did it not? I mean, it really did appear that the national media was on it. I don't know about the 3% thing. I would have given the Heat somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 to 45% chance of winning the series.
That's what Ken and I say. Look, again, the Celtics are a good team. They're not great. And I don't know why people got out to that weird, like Robert Williams is in. Robert Williams had a really good beginning of the game. And then where the fuck was Robert Williams? I guess looked like he got hurt, but he was sitting on the bench. So I don't think he was hurt. Like, Horford gives you some games, but he's fucking 36 and he looks like he's 68. Like, I mean, like, they're a good. Malcolm Brogdon again gave you a stretch where he got some and ones, made a couple threes, and then where was he in the like? They have a good team. They don't have a great team.
No, and Tatum, as brilliant as he's been,
he goes away.
Throughout most of the season, he does disappear.
He goes away, even in games where even that game
for long stretches sometimes, long stretches.
The 51 game he didn't. He played an entire game where it was like, Jesus,
That was amazing.
stop this freaking guy. But the game before that they want to give him credit for, he sucked. He sucked
it was
for
horrible.
literally 42 of 48 minutes. The last 6 minutes, he woke up and hit 3 threes. That was it. So
that was it. Yeah, and that kind of came out of nowhere. You were happy he was shooting the ball if you were Philadelphia.
yes. But look, I'm not even. It's not even that the Celtics are going to go away. I'm not saying they shouldn't have been favored.
That was the thing they used to do to you, Lubie. I'm sure.
Yes,
Shoot it. I know you were known as a tenacious defender, though.
I was a good defender, good passer. I was never that bad as a shooter. But I don't know. I know that that's what I thought. Like Mayo. Was it Mayo or my dad? My dad texted me. He's like, in the second quarter, this is what I thought. I'm like, this is what I thought. I'm like, that first quarter is what I thought. I'm like, they just need to fucking relax. They need to be patient and stop rushing and running and flinging the ball. And they did. They went from 11 turnovers over half to 3 over half. And that's more of what they do. And the Celtics are used to hitting a bunch of threes, getting and ones, smart flopping. And
Celtics looked like they were drugged after this halftime.
Well,
is there going to be some kind of investigation launched by Adam Silver and his people into whether or not somebody slipped the Celtics a Mickey? Because they all of a sudden appeared to be in chaos, completely out of sync, out of rhythm. The Heat were getting to every loose ball. They were getting all of the so-called hustle plays, and just did a brilliant job. Plus, they were making shots. I mean, that was the thing. Each Heat player, had some kind of a hand in this thing that was in the box score. Vincent Strus, Lowry Martin, all with 15 points, but they did it very efficiently. Kevin Love had a couple of big threes in important spots there earlier in the game when it was still a contest. So just a brilliant job all the way around. 123, 116, 8.5 point underdogs. They win it outright by 7. Anybody have the Heat on the money line last night? I would imagine Moneyline Martinez was in that category because people have been dismissing these two local teams all throughout. Boston was favored in all 7 games. Toronto, I believe, was favored in all 5 games of the series against the Florida Panthers, who are in action tonight. Now, I'm excited about this one, Libby. This is great. I don't know that we've ever had double barrel action like this. Well, we never have.
Never.
Yeah.
Never have in 30 years.
And here we are deep into the playoffs. I mean, we're approaching June.
Yes,
Lubie, and we're still alive, man, and very much so. Now up 1-0 on the Boston Celtics to go to the finals, and with the Cats and the Hurricanes certainly looming as a toss-up in terms of who emerges from that series. I don't know that anybody can discount the Panthers, and it was strange because until they lost those last 2 games of the regular season, one was in overtime to Toronto. That was a key game, and then they only qualified after the Penguins lost. I think that the Penguins have to lose their last 2 for the Panthers to get in.
No, they just had to lose one of those games, and then
so the Cats here. I mean, you talk about hanging by a thread. The whole story is just diametrically opposed, right? You be saying, what the hell did they do there, man? They really blew this thing with Kachuk and Bobrovsky. They got to just pay him to go away. Send them back to Russia. Well, whatever you have to do, man. No, I mean, look what just the smallest of differences, the most minute of differences can make as they get into the playoffs. And then they, get hot after being down 3-1 against the Bruins. Weren't getting annihilated in that series even to be put in that position. And they've been winning ever since. So I don't know that you can down them. The Hurricanes are favored. You have to lay 145, I believe, to win 100 on the series if you like the Hurricanes to win. And the general consensus seems to be, what, Lubie? That the Hurricanes will win this series somehow.
Look, I would lean again like the Heat. I would lean Hurricanes. But the Panthers found a way to – we've seen that in playoffs. Like teams that just find a way are scary. And they're playing – with a weird, reckless abandon. And it's funny, we made so much fun of Paul Maurice, but it feels like they bought it.
He seems to have instilled that in them. He really has. Like, hey, you're never out of it, guys, which is a nice way to play. I mean, if you're looking for, kind of an approach, wouldn't it be better to believe that you're always in the game, even if the other team, I mean, that was a weird thing. Was it typical of all the hockey coaches during these interviews which they interview them while guys are like fighting right in front of them. They don't wait for like between periods or anything like that until the action stops. It's like, okay, let's go to Joan Taylor down there, and she's got the coach. Intense action is taking place. Like the team's like on a 5-on-3 power play. They're trying to defend, and the coaches sit there and just answer questions in depth and great detail. But Maurice always expressed it didn't matter. I mean, team would be down, and he's like, I really like the way we're playing. I tell you what. And was very matter of fact about the idea that he had extreme confidence in what his team was going out there and doing. And, maybe that's being reflected in the way they're playing. Certainly didn't look like they were playing an uptight brand of hockey like Toronto did, where all of their high scorers all of a sudden, go dead.
All apart, yep.
Yeah. I mean, that was, and it's great too, because to be this team, because after you leave like a team like Toronto or Boston in your wake, they literally conduct their own internal autopsy and start thinking, who can we get rid of? How do we get better? Philadelphia's in chaos in the NBA. All right, now the loser of the series, man, just they end up doing like a complete internal investigation into what the hell they could do to change things up. And maybe, I don't know, is that a premature evaluation?
Not
where you just want to tear things apart the minute that you lose a series.
The Maple Leafs probably. The Sixers, no. Rivers is massively overrated. He's done this now with 3 teams.
Right.
And Harden, again.
He remains a head case of some sort.
Did it. Like, he actually played well in this series. And then in Game 7, when they needed him, he sucked. So
horrible, yeah.
And then he wants to leave too. So, yes, I don't know if you blow it up because it didn't work for them before. But I don't know. Embiid doesn't want to just hang around as a team that's going to lose. Even though it was on him, he played like shit, but he's not owning that. So we'll see. I think that's going to be a whole lot of fun this offseason.
It's nice to be the team that's causing other teams and franchises to re-examine their entire, worth to humanity, which is, is where this is all going in the aftermath with coaches getting fired from playoff teams. I mean, when did you ever see that? Multiple coaches of playoff teams getting canned in any league, and hockey. Well, hockey, they'll change coaches after the guy wins a Stanley Cup.
Say hockey, they do it a lot. Hockey's freaking weird. About
Guy's hoisting the cup, and he gets the notice right there as he's got the cup in the air. That
lose the job after finally getting Ovechkin a goddamn title. Like, what the hell?
Bruce Boudreau, yeah,
Boudreau. Literally, they win the title after like a decade of trying, giving up leads. They actually came back from deficits in that series, that playoffs. They win the title, and they're like, all right.
My favorite coach, too, because every other word is an expletive with Bruce Boudreau. I believe he's in the front office somewhere now. Is he not? Or did he just get out of coaching and he's finished with hockey altogether?
He's in the front office somewhere.
Those guys, I mean, nice to hear that Doug McLean was doing well, too. We got that from Jeff Rimmer yesterday. I thought Rimmer was great on the program. Really did a nice job for us, and had a lot of insight. You know what? These hockey people, it's another world, man. It's a circus. It's kind of like the boxing and horse racing circuit where, the inside stuff is, very much, contained inside, that world. So, like, people look at horse racing, they don't realize, like when this debate always comes up about the care of horses, if you're on that side, if you're on the backstretch ever and you meet all of these people and you understand what they're all about, they love these animals. They do. I mean, I don't know. You'll see that thing, I guess, what stands out. Remember the piece on HBO Real Sports? Bernard, what was it?
Goldberg?
Yeah.
Yep.
He did a great piece, and but he found like the most crooked trainer at Charlestown.
Exactly, like that's
the guy literally, as he was doing the interview, he was injecting the horse with sublimates. Goldberg's like, "Oh, what is that you're putting in his flank?" Gurggles can relate to this.
You talk about horse racing. I'm bringing Gurggles on. If you're gonna start talking,
you had to bring Gurggles on because Gurggles. Is this not Preakness Preview Day with Dave Gurggles Gergely on the show? Gurggles, how are you?
Doing fine. Matter of fact, I'll miss the Preakness. We have a tournament here at Miami Lakes Golf Club for St. John Newman's Catholic Church, and I'll be here from
I'm a member there
11 o'clock till like the 7th, as a matter of fact. You're a member there?
Yeah, you find that surprising. Yeah. What was that again? St. John's?
I don't.
What?
St. John Newman's, because somebody told me they remember you when the collection basket came, you were taking rather than putting. But then you got to make change. When you put in a 10, you can't take 20 and change. But you might have had a tough day that day. So
That tambourine was always a little short once it got around to me. I mean,
by the way, you guys were incorrect about the first time that we had action with both things at the same time. I remember vividly being interviewed by Hank Goldberg when Calder was running against Hialeah. So you have to include that.
And whose side were you on? It was
Hialeah.
yeah,
Hialeah. I was at Hialeah when Hank interviewed me, and I said, "Give me Hialeah anytime."
It was a horrible period of time. I mean, the
Yeah.
regulation of the industry back then was absolutely bizarre. It was always a shame, and you wonder what would have happened had they just gone ahead and awarded and/or worked out some kind of an accord and had Hialeah Park running racing in January and February every year. Could
Unbelievable.
they have sustained themselves in that capacity? And had they remained a racetrack, they still could have gone ahead and established themselves as a casino like they are today. But that would have been
Sure.
great. I mean, people don't know how glorious that was. When did that
Oh
stop?
my goodness.
When did that end?
Yeah.
In the 80s? Was it that far back? Gertz?
Yeah, I think it was late 80s. I think Gulfstream and Calder kind of ganged up on him with, it's hard to get to. It's not in a good neighborhood. And they're like, baloney, easy to get to. And just what a racetrack to run the horses. And you ask the horsemen, they'd all wanted to stay there because of the beautiful surface that Tesla put together there. But that's in the history book now.
They put some woman who had worked in a pharmacy in charge of the gambling entities down here. Parimutuel, whoever was the head of the Parimutuel division in Tallahassee had no idea what the hell was going on. That was always
By
great.
the way, speaking of pharmacies, I don't know if Lubie knows the one about the lady that went in to see her pharmacist and said, I need some cyanide. And the pharmacist says, ma'am, I can't do that. That's a dangerous drug and can kill somebody. I have to ask you, what's it for? She goes, that's exactly what it's for. I caught my husband cheating on me, and I want to poison that son of a bitch to death. And the pharmacist says, I can't be a part of that. I'm a professional. So the lady reaches in her pocketbook and pulls out a picture of her husband in bed with the pharmacist's wife. And he says, oh, you didn't tell me you had a prescription. So, yeah.
Mike Mayo says it was 91, 92. Somewhere in there that
Okay.
stopped racing.
Makes sense. Wow.
Slugging them with the later period of time there. March and April certainly wasn't as lucrative as January and February was in terms of the tourist industry here, which I think that has expanded as the population. So I believe, though, I mean, it was very unfortunate because I still remember, we talk about it when we speak about Hialeah Park, when we're about to indulge and engage in the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. But it is really true. I mean, you can still envision yourself in certain scenes there at Hialeah Park, whether it was catching a ticket, tearing one up, having a cocktail out there, one of those outside bars. Always loved that out by the Panic area there. I mean, or seeing Enrique de Fiatkowski saddling up a beautiful horse like Sabine in the Panic, and you're wondering, or Devil's Bag, and you're wondering, how is it that a guy that rich is dressing like he's on a cereal box cover? I mean, the guy, he literally dressed like Captain Crunch, did he not? I don't remember that guy.
Or listening to Tom Durkin call "Time for a Change," making a big move. And, oh wow, unbelievable!
I still remember that call.
And our good friend Miramani getting his break out there with the different voices when he started. Yep.
Yeah. And I remember Frank was schwitzing so badly, he had a flop sweat working his first call, and I think he badly miscalled a race. And here he is about 30 years later, and he's the voice of Santa Anita, and now going to be the voice of Saratoga as well. So
good for him.
Managed to get into some pretty good gigs. Frank Miramani. A lot of guys got their start there. Dave Johnson, right? Hialeah Park also.
That's right.
And down the stretch they come. Launched a lot of historic stuff there in Hialeah Park. It was great. All right, we're going to have the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. How are you feeling about the challenge today, Gergs? Good?
Wonderful. I got some, I'm not giving Lenny any softballs this week, so we got some good ones.
All right. Chronic, has been challenged and called out on the show, man. You're like Antonio Tarver calling out Roy Jones Jr. I want you, Roy. What excuses you going to have tonight? And so dial us up if you want to play the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge, 954-417-0070. 954-417-0070. And you can be involved for the quest for the championship and also a very generous offer from Mike Lubie Lubitz of a Landlubber's gift certificate, where he will be later tonight, which a lot of people, I mean, are saying that your live trivia there at Landlubbers may be the best, most sophisticated live trivia competition that you can participate in, Lubie. Is that a fair statement? I mean, you're not one to blow your own horn.
It's definitely different. Ken is behind it. So if you've watched our Fridays with the professor,
Yeah.
I think Gurggles likes to get you. Ken is another.
He wants to bury his adoring public.
He wants people to have fun and be interested. He's not a jerk, but he definitely doesn't make it simplistic. It's fun. It's a good time, and it is different, and people really do enjoy it, and we appreciate it.
No, it's good, and you'll be there tonight, Landlubbers, which is a great place to watch the hockey game too, huh?
Yes, it's going to probably be a nice crowd. They get a nice Panthers. Even before the Panthers caught on, they were getting a Panthers contingent, so I can't even imagine what it's going to be like tonight. And the game is perfect. We start at 6:30. We end right before 8. What time does the Panthers game start? 8. Perfect time.
All right, and you'll get the spillover from the people that can't get into the Florida Live Arena.
Oh, are they doing a thing?
You would think. No, we don't do that in this town, do we? Where like people show up in an empty arena. Get the hell out of here.
Like, who does that? I'm like, we're not
Toronto. We're looking to get 2 people to show up at the bar. Hey, can you take that game off and put on I Love Lucy? You would be in favor of that.
Oh yeah, last night without cable, everybody's watching the Heat game. I was watching the history of the game shows. It was great at 10 o'clock tonight, going way back to Bob Barker and Johnny Carson. Who do you trust? And then I went to bed, turned it on, and the Heat won. Beautiful. So they don't need me to watch.
Concentration was underrated as a TV game show, was it not? I'm surprised no version.
And
of
who's the first ever inductee into the Trivia Hall of Fame?
Paul Masel.
No. Art Fleming. Art Fleming, the original host of Jeopardy. Yep.
Was he the original host? No, it was the guy who was on the Today Show there way back when.
Hugh Downs.
He
was
wasn't the original?
Art Fleming was Jeopardy.
Oh, Jeopardy. Yeah. No, Art Fleming was brilliant on Jeopardy. He really was. I don't know if they've ever, it's kind of like who's going to replace Vin Scully as a Dodger announcer. I don't know if they've ever come up with a guy as good as and talented as some of these guys are. That could host that show at the same level. Unbelievable. Mm-hmm. All right. We're coming back with the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. Dial us up if you want to play. 954-417-0070. 954-417-0070. If you would like to join us here and compete for the Landlubber's gift certificate, the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. We mentioned Hialeah Park. Great place to take in a Preakness. You've done this. You've been to like Derby or Belmont's or Preakness days. I remember I nearly had to jump off the second story balcony when I booked Tony Segredo's bet on the Preakness, and he had taken a tip from Hank Goldberg, who had given him the 12-1 winner of the race. And Tony had wanted a box in $20 exactas, like 3 horses, which was I going to lay out the 120 Gurggles, figuring I was never going to get it back? No. Not that Tony is not reputable, but I never seen a guy, right?
He still owes me $39 for.
There you go. Yeah, when I palmed that off on you because you happen to be at a pari-mutuel facility. When Tony called me with the usual, hey, can you get this down for me? People, we say this, and it's true, and I know everybody's done it. I've called people and said, hey, can you put in a bet for me or whatever, But in general, if you're going to bet horses or sports, bring your own money and make the bet yourself. Right? Because nobody wants to go to a track and put up like 120 for another guy. That's kind of a big outlay from my general bankroll that I bring out there, what I'm willing to risk on a given day before I want to blow my brains out. And so anyway, I booked the bet. And, it ended up, they ran 1-3. The exact would have paid like, $270. And I would have owed Tony $2,700.
Wow.
You imagine? I was dying. I mean, it was like a 3-horse photo at the wire. What was I going to tell him? I didn't get it in. I mean, that's the other one. You do get the bet in, and then you tell the guy that you whiffed on it. So you just tell him to keep the 120, and you pocket the 2,700. A lot of ways to go wrong in that endeavor. Anyway, a great place to take it in, though, Hialeah Park. And as exciting as that was, I was able to go right to the Brass Rail Bar and exhaust all of my anxiety with a couple of cocktails. Right after that race was over with, and just a perfect setup. You love it because You're both a partier at the track and a loner at the same time. You like both
Yeah.
angles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like my isolation in one of those beautiful little TVs in front of the 60 big screen TVs. I can turn my volume up on mine, listen to mine, and just pay attention to my race. Or I can go into the Brass Rail Bar with El Capitan and all the boys. And as soon as the gates open, come on, 4, come on, 3, vamos, 7. The energy's unbelievable. So whatever mood you're in, there's a place for you at Hialeah Park.
Were they selling those sailors caps at the gift shop by any chance?
No,
How did everybody have one?
no.
Man? They all looked like they were, Alan Hale. It was amazing. Captain Stubing, Captain and Tennille. Characters, man. You get a lot of characters there too, which is great. And then, of course, you have the casino. Maybe your bankroll is drying up a little bit on the horses. Get out of the casino, take a shot that maybe you'll hit one of those Lightning Lotto or Royal Reel machines. Maybe you come back with like 10 or 15 times. It's awesome.
Nice.
You're going to love it. The action there is just absolutely outstanding, and it's round the clock at beautiful Hialeah Park. All right, we're coming back with the game. 954-417-0070 if you'd like to play. Dave Gurggles Gergely will conduct the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge in a moment. Now that.
The time.
As if he was a maestro at the Boston Pops. It's 7:42. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
Oh, Solo Volante will be coming late. Oh, Solo Volante, the Belmont's now 1.8 miles. The finish line is coming up quick. Luca Panici just switch the stick.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on The Defo Show.
That was a good reminder, Lubie, that I need to get a hold of the Polyman and get the Preakness preview after he really was instrumental in most everybody that did make a score on the Kentucky Derby. He was very instrumental in helping people out with two of the horses that he mentioned finishing in the top 3 there. As he liked Mage and Angel of Empire. Gurggles, I forgot. You did well in the Derby, did you not?
No,
on Derby Day you did well. Yes.
But I ran 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. I had Disarm was my key, bet 20 across. Of course, he ran 4th, and I had Angel of Empire and the runner-up as well. Did not have Madge, which made so much perfect sense after the fact. But I wish I'd heard Paulie say that. I would have probably had at least a try, but that's okay. Did fine. I think I hit a pick 4 at Belmont, where I beat a 2 to 5 shot with a 5 to 1 and nice. Ended up coming back like 8 and change. So you beat those heavy favorites, you can really make a score. And Preakness is now going to have 5 pick 5s, counting Friday and Saturday. So Wow, something
Oh,
else.
very good there. I mean, if you like those kind of wagers, which is the way to make money if you want to make substantial scores. Everybody's a good handicapper after the race, though, Gergs. We know that from the many years we've been taking tough
Yeah,
beats
look
at
at
the racetrack. Well, what do you think? Any
last Sunday.
preliminary thought on this Preakness, Gurggles?
No, I'm still smarting from last Sunday. Was the mandatory pick 5,
Oh, yeah.
pick 6 payout at Gulfstream, and we had 5 out of 6 and got beat by Luca Panici on a
Oh.
2-year-old baby on the grass. He may be going to Royal Ascot to ride that horse, but
I asked him
rode
about
a
that.
beautiful race.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I sent him a text the other day about the Royal Ascot because I know that I guess the deal was whoever won the race got an automatic qualification. The horse is owned by that guy Bregman who plays third base for the Houston Astros. Real good player. Is it Dave Bregman? I believe one of the few Jewish players in Major League Baseball, and he has not decided yet. Luke asked me if I could get him on the show and try and talk him into sending him to the Royal Ascot. So
That'd be
it
great.
remains undecided, but he was hopeful. Sorry that our man beat you out of what? What'd the thing pay? Like 50 grand?
2,300. There was
Oh, that's all?
5 of us in there, so we'd have split. We'd have got 500 apiece. Not a big deal, but I bet him to win anyway after we were already in. I said Lucas Horse got it. It was George Weaver, I think, trained it. Yep.
It's the thrill of victory, though. It doesn't matter. Even if you lose money while winning gambling, you still feel good that you actually cashed the ticket, no matter what. All right, let's get into the game here, Gergs. And Lubie
Yep.
always imploring new people to call in. And we would welcome that. Fresh blood coming into the game here. 954-417-0070. 954-417-0070. And let's get it started here. We mentioned a Polyman and a brilliant rendition of Solo Volante, the famous Italian opera. In fact, when I was in Rome last year, they were performing that at the local opera house. And we happened to walk in right at that moment. And, it was great seeing Polyman on stage with a reference to Luca Panici, famous Italian jockey. So we'll do it in the traditional fashion, but not with the Polyman, but with Dave Gurggles Gergely and some
Easy baseball.
Very
This
good.
veteran pitcher on his early beginnings in the game said, yeah, when I broke him, didn't even have bats. We just grabbed a branch off a tree when we came up to the plate. What was that? Charlie Huff, Stanley Huff, Howard Duff, or Duff Lindsay?
Good choices there. Very interesting. Here's a random phone scrambler. And our opening player is Ron. Ron, you're on the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, fellas. Let's go with A.
As usual, right on the money there, and you have 1 point.
Baseball, Ron. True or false? In a recent interview with TMZ, Yankee slugger Aaron Judge admitted he's a huge Broadway fan, and his most recent favorite was Wicked. True or false?
Let's go false.
I want to say true. True?
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, exactly right.
Don't they have, the occasional picture of him? And did he not? I think he married this girl, but she's like 4'8", and
Yes.
Judge is
Yeah.
7 feet tall. I mean, they make a very odd couple. It's kind of like when with Vladimir Klitschko,
I was going to say he's with Hayden Panettiere.
Hayden Panettiere.
Yes.
He's
Yeah,
like
that's right. Yep.
That's-
Very similar image, but I've seen them, I think, coming out of Broadway theaters. So I went with true on it. All right, very good, Ron. You have one going for 4.
All right, hoops. The last time the Nuggets were in the finals was back in 1976 in the ABA when they lost to whom?
Oh,
Kentucky Colonels, the Nets, the Jazz, or the Rockets?
wow, whipped into ABA early on this one.
Let's go Kentucky Colonels.
The Colonels. Incorrect.
It was the Nets and Dr. J.
Does anybody really remember outside of Rick Barry anything about ABA basketball anymore?
Oh, yeah, me too. I do.
You
Bruce
do, yeah.
Dampier and
I do remember the
and
league.
Chico Bond.
I liked it, but I mean, it's hard to recall who did what, isn't it? Although, and still fascinated by this. I mentioned some obscure game to Rick Barry when we were interviewing him out in San Francisco. He was actually in a good mood, which is extremely rare. And I mentioned I had seen him play and score like 50-something with the Oakland Oaks at the Comac Arena in East Comac, Long Island. They had an ABA doubleheader with Dr. J in the second game, then playing for the Nets, actually, the Long Island Nets. And he remembered every detail of this game, Gurggles. I mean, this game had to be in the 60s. And, he said, it wasn't 55. What are you talking about? I had 57. And, it was incredible. So, yeah, people do remember it. You're right. All right, here's your 5-point question going for 6, Ron, to set the pace.
All right, Ron. Just the other day, Shohei Ohtani got on base 5 times as a starting pitcher in the same game with 4 of them hits and 1 walk. That hasn't happened in quite a while. Who was the last pitcher that started a game to reach base 5 times in that game?
Wow.
Was it Chris Hampton, Bob Gibson, Warren Spahn, or Mel Stottlemyre?
Could be all of the above.
Oh, boy. Let's go Warren Spahn.
I'm going to say Chris Hampton because he was not really of the other caliber.
1964.
Gibson?
Mel Stottlemyre versus the Washington Senators in 64. Yep.
Very good, man. You kind of stumped Ron there, which is unusual. This guy's a hot player. All right, dial us up if you want to play. 954-417-0070. 954-417-0070. Lubie will be at Landlubbers later on tonight with the live version of the trivia game. This is the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge, also brought to you in part by Perdomo Cigars. In fact, also brought to you in part by Perdomo Cigars for like 25 years, Gurggles. How great are these people?
They're the best. You follow Nick Perdomo's career. He was an air traffic controller, a very lucrative job. And his dad and his grandfather grew tobacco in Cuba. And Nick said, you know what? I'm going to carry on the family tradition. They started a little place off Flagler Street, a farm in Nicaragua where they have Cuban seed tobacco. Now they're right in the Miami Lakes area, 5150 Northwest 167th Street. See the big Perdomo Cigars sign right on the building. Open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And now Nick Jr. is involved. So we're talking a 4th generation. And congratulations to him and his lovely wife, Lauren, who have got Lucia. And that the next cigar I smoke from Perdomo will be in honor of their brand new granddaughter and Nick Jr.'s daughter. But you don't need a reason to smoke a Perdomo cigar. They're perfect by themselves. So go visit them or call them, 305-627-6700. If it's a Saturday or Sunday, they're closed. But any tobacconist worth their salt will definitely have Perdomo cigars. If you're not sure, go online, perdomocigars.com. Today, tomorrow, this weekend, put something great in your mouth with a cigar from Perdomo Cigars.
Not that we're rooting for your death or anything, Gurggles, but you have to paste that picture on your headstone if you decide to go the burial route. That is so the essence of you, that picture of you in the Maldives with a Perdomo cigar, and the beer
That's
looks
a good one,
perfectly
but I also
chilled.
I also have another one at the Maldives with a nice Middleton Irish whiskey, too, which is beautiful. But either one of them, and you don't have to go to the Maldives to enjoy a Perdomo cigar. Matter of fact, I was thinking of you guys, the same lady I took to the Maldives, I went last week.
Yeah, now you're going to Broadway shows? Unbelievable.
Ain't Too Proud to Beg. It was great. Yeah, wonderful play. So next time, and the next trip for me, June 3rd, I'll be heading to Allentown, Pennsylvania for the Old Timers Athletes Picnic.
Was that
Anybody
the
who played
Alzheimer's
60s, 70s?
Athletes Picnic?
No, old timers.
Oh, old timers.
Anybody who played in the 60s, 70s, or 80s in 4 different high schools will all be together for a picnic. So
Nice.
I'm looking forward to that. Yep.
Now you're going to play anything? Basketball, softball, what? Badminton?
No, I'll probably have a cold beer and tell us how great we were, even though I was 15th man on the JV basketball team as my claim to fame.
You know what the most often asked question is at any kind of reunion of this type, right?
What happened to you?
That's it. I was going to open up with Rimmer, yesterday when we had him on the show, Jeff Rimmer. Say, hey, what the hell happened to you? Yeah,
wow.
No, but he was looking and sounded good. Did a great job for us.
Good.
All right, let's get into our next set of questions here. Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. Once again, you can dial us up. Looking for new blood here. I mean, come on, Libby. How long have we been saying this? 954-417-0070. Here's Dave Gurggles Gergely. And we respect, our longtime players have really been carrying us through this thing for seemingly forever. So we have great respect and obviously great, thanks for the fact that you guys have been supporting the program. So we don't mean to cut you out. Here's Dave, our next set of questions.
Golf. You got the PGA coming up, but this caddy on the extremely tough layout of the U.S. Open golf course said, I figured out why they took out those 8,000 trees at Oakmont. So when people play there, they won't hang themselves. What's that? Vern Test, Jackie Vernon Downs, or you Downs?
Vernon Downs, one of my favorite. stomping grounds, man. I spent my junior year at Vernon Downs at Syracuse. Entire junior year there. I took all of my courses there. All right, here is Pat via the random phone scrambler. Pat, you're on the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, guys. A.
Come on,
Right on the money, my friend. 1 point, going for 2.
All right, Pat, I know you got a big history of knowing this kind of stuff. Wrestling, true or false? Believe it or not, midget wrestler Skylo Lowe's father was an extra on the set of Wizard of Oz as one of the Lollipop Gang. True or false?
I should know that, right?
Yeah.
I'd say true.
True?
He said
What's
true.
that?
He said true.
True.
No,
that was
no.
too ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Skylar Lowe's old man was like 6'2".
Exactly.
Believe it or not. Yeah, he played for the Knicks. All right, 1 going for 4.
All right, Pat. On September 7th, 1974, California Angels pitcher Nolan Ryan became the first pitcher to break the 100-mile-per-hour barrier when one of his pitches was clocked at 100.8 miles per hour versus what team or versus
Ooh.
was that the White Sox, the Tigers, the Red Sox, or the Brewers?
Say the Red Sox.
Sox.
Right Sox, wrong color. The White Sox.
Okay, all right. Is he going to have a point for that?
No.
At least he knew it was something that goes on your feet.
Socks, yeah.
All right, shot at 6 points here, Pat, to set the pace.
Oh, with an X.
Yeah, you're right. All right. Sticking with baseball, Pat. 2006, now retired pitcher Anibal Sanchez made his first start with the Marlins, a winning one, pitching 5 2/3 innings of shutout ball versus what team or versus whom?
Ooh.
Was that the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Reds, or the Pirates?
Most people would distinctly remember Anibal Sanchez's first Marlins start.
Let's go with the Pirates.
Pirates.
No, it was the Evil Empire Yankees.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, that made it significant, I guess. You had a 1 out of 4 shot of getting that one right, as the rest of us did as well. All right. Very good. Nobody with a total worthy of being in the final. So dial us up if you want to play. There's a good chance you can ride right into the championship round here, much like the Miami Heat are. And you can dial us up at 954-417-0070 if you want to play the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. Dave Gurggles Gergely is the master of ceremonies on these matters and doing a fine job. And we'll play a couple of more people and then go to the championship round. So dial us up. Get on board, 954-417-0070. A Landlubber's gift certificate is also, accorded to you along with the distinction, the fine distinction, Gurggles, of being a champion on the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. So you haven't mentioned yet. I mean, do you have any kind of leanings, inclination in the Preakness coming up on Saturday?
Not a thing.
Nothing.
Not a thing. I'll take a look at some of the turf races, but the Preakness itself, I was hoping Disarm would come back. He's not running. I guess National Treasure's coming in from the coast with Baffert. He's going to be firing from the 1 hole. I actually root for Castellano to win the second leg and set up a great belt line.
Yeah.
So
be nice to have like a
root
triple
for the winner.
crown. Yeah. All right, we'll see.
Right, that would be nice.
I'm going to go against Mage, so he'll probably waltz in. If you're basing our track record on what we've been saying about the Heat and the Panthers so far, which is, we had them getting annihilated last night by the Celtics. And, unfortunately for the people that follow our picks, we were dead wrong, as usual. All right, coming back with more in a moment. Dave Gurggles Gergely, Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge continues, 954-417-0070. And back with more in a moment on that.
The time.
8 o'clock, straight up.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
This comes from the great Defo Llama. It's the bets you don't make, the chances you don't take, that can compromise an otherwise incredible life, my friend.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on the Defo Show.
The good news is I haven't been betting on these games during the postseason, because if I had, bankruptcy would not be, I mean, it would be a distant consideration, because it would be more like burial was the option. If I was counting on my own instincts into who was going to win these individual games. We've been right about a couple of them, but that's about it, Gurggles. I don't know. I mean, you have to be feeling some steam there around the golf course and the restaurants in Miami Lakes about this run. And it looked like finally it was clicking in last night. Had a couple of news reports showing various sports bars and places that were featuring the game very prominently, and they were all packed, which was great.
Yeah, I'm sure they were. Miami Lakes, too. I was, like I said, home watching. But I guess even before this, when they had Panthers and Heat playing on the same night, that's got to be a boon for sports bars when they're both playing at the same time.
Nice to see, man. A little boost to the economy here from the local teams.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's get right back into it. I know you have things to attend to here, Gurggles, so we'll go right back to the game. Nobody with a total worthy of being in the finals. Open lines are at 954-417-0070. Here's Dave, our next set of questions on this week's edition of the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge.
Hockey. This NHL player, after his teammate Sean Van Allen sustained a concussion and could not remember who he was, said to the trainer, tell him he's Wayne Gretzky. Who's that? Ted Green, Lorne Green, Benny Green, or Benny Jablonski?
Here's a scrambler to determine our next player. And it lands on Mike. Mike, you're on the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. And I want to tell you I'm playing today from the Sunset Inn.
Oh, very nice. Wow.
Good for you.
Out in Key Largo, you're going to go by Jimmy
We'll be
Johnson's Big
going-
Chill?
We are going to the Big Chill tomorrow, yes, sir.
Nice.
Oh, beautiful.
Congrats. Yeah,
Beautiful. All right. That's fantastic. Sunset Inn, is it still the same? I mean, it doesn't look anything like the brochure, does it?
It's very nice.
Oh, it is? Okay, good.
I heard you talking about it in the past in some negative
my God,
fashion,
that's
but no, it's very nice.
That's funny.
Maybe they've upgraded. They finally
Mike-
finished those renovations that were underway for like the last 20 years.
Yeah, no,
Mike-
it's very nice, people.
It was like it's horrendous.
Mike, when you go there to Jimmy Johnson's, don't mention Jeff's name. He's still got a tab open for about $35, so be careful.
Yeah.
That happened to me where I was chased down by some woman that was, and I knew her well. I mean, but a bartender at the track many years ago, and all of a sudden, everybody's like, "Hey, you better pay so and so the $65 you owe her." I'm like, "Well, what are you talking about? I don't know." But yeah, there's probably a tab there at Jimmy Johnson's. Well, they treated us very well, and that was a fantastic time. Have the Italian fisherman pizza when you're there.
Yeah,
It's a real treat.
This is great.
All right, here we go. You're in the game, and congratulations. I hope you have great weather down there for the next day or two, and that'll be fantastic. Here's Dave with your true-false question.
Sports. You may have heard that at age 81, Martha Stewart is going to be on the cover of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition.
Yep.
She broke the record for the oldest cover set by a then 65-year-old Raquel Welch many years ago. Is that true or false?
I want to say you made that one up. Oh,
False, he says.
And he's right.
Yeah.
The record was Elon Musk's mother at age 74 was the oldest one on the cover.
That must have been a pretty picture.
That's random.
Wow.
There's no amount of airbrushing in some cases, right? I don't know what she looks like. She's probably smoking hot. I shouldn't say anything about that. All right, very good. 2 for 2 here. Mike going for 5.
All right, Mike. Golf. June 15th will be the start of the next U.S. Open. Who was the last player to win the U.S. Open leading from start to finish?
Wyatt.
That's right. Brooks Koepka, Martin Keimer, Ernie Els, or Retief Goosen?
I know that one.
I'll say A.
I say Koepka.
Had to be B, man. The nondescript European schmank, Martin Keimer.
2014, Martin Keimer. That's right.
More prominent numerically was 45-1 Martin Keimer, which we bet on in that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I
It's
should.
one of our great predictions on the air, and it was our last winning prediction. What year was that? 2014.
It was like
14, yes. Yep.
I have Jason Day. I don't know. Can he go back to back? That's not easy in this kind of tournament golf. But he just won the Byron Nelson, and he's been knocking on the door of recapturing his form, which was a very prominent winning form a few years ago. Jason Day. Can he win the PGA at 25-1? What do you think?
Good guy. I like him.
All right. We have Mike with 2 going for 7 to set the pace from the Sunset Inn in Key Largo, Florida.
All right, Mike, baseball. Who led his league in ERA more times than any other pitcher? Was
Okay.
that Lefty Grove, Walter Johnson, Bob Gibson, or Ron Guidry?
Wow. Louisiana Lightning.
Gibson.
Remember that year? He
Believe
had
it
the
or not.
1.12 ERA. That was amazing, huh?
Yeah.
Hang on, Mike, because you're
You got
probably
to go all the way back to Lefty Grove, who led the league in ERA 9 times, including 4 in a row. So,
And you know what? He was a right-hander. That's the unbelievable thing about that. That could have been a true-false question. Lefty Grove, is he actually a righty? All right, we're going to play one more, and then we're going to have to fish our way into the finals here with people that had non-qualifying totals. You can dial us up at 954-417-0070, 954-417-0070. Another quick word, Gurggles, about Perdomo Cigars, because we can't say enough good things about these guys.
they're opening up 9 o'clock this morning. Get there early or get there late in the day. They stay open till 6. Go in there and Danny or Donnie's right at the hostess stand. He'll direct you into the humidor built by our late great friend, the Mad Dog Jim Manich. And when you see all the cigars on display, you'll be like a kid in Candyland. And my favorite now, the Lot 23, a nice mild cigar. You want a full-bodied one, the Edition de Silvio or the 20th anniversary with a Maduro wrapper. Can't go wrong. So go visit them, 5150 Northwest 167th Street off the Palmetto on the south side and a little bit east of Home Depot, or call them 305-627-6700. And guess what's coming up? We just had Mother's Day, Father's Day right around the corner. Buy a box, buy a gift certificate, buy a humidor. They've got everything you want at Perdomo Cigars. And this weekend, or even today, celebrate with a perfect cigar from Perdomo Cigars.
I was thinking about the Mad Dog Jim Manich the other day on my walk of life. Somebody had posted a picture of the Mad Dog in relation to something else on my Facebook page. And, known for his signature line, all right, Miami. But he also had a signature sign-off on his talk shows. I don't know if you remember Mad Dog's signature sign-off. And it was right up there with Gordon Soley's So Long from the Sunshine State, which I think is the greatest ever signature sign-off. He would say, that's all there is no more. And that's how he would close every show, the Mad Dog, Jim Manich. Definitely revered. I remember when he was a stiff, too, when I first started working with him. He was very straight-laced, man. I don't want to say he came out of the Joe Zagacki School of Broadcasting, but at the time, humor wasn't necessarily something that was injected into the sporting coverage. And then the Mad Dog he embraced this and ran with it like nobody else. It was great. And it turned out he couldn't have been, any more of a, what would you say? I mean, how would you describe this guy, the Mad Dog?
A mensch.
Yeah. Yeah, good guy, man, all the way around. So, he was missed. But that's all there is. There is no more. That was his big sign-off thing. All right, one more player on the board here, and we'll get into it with Dave Gurggles Gergely, our next set of questions.
Golf. This golf pro on a tough stretch of play on the PGA Tour said, I'm not saying my golf went bad, but if I grew tomatoes, they'd come up sliced. What's that? Lee Trevino, Alex Trevino, Alex Rodriguez, or Rudy Rodriguez?
Scrambler, Lubie. and step on it. Andy, our good friend Andy. How you feeling, Andy? You all right, kid?
Yeah, pretty good. First time caller. Very happy to be on your show.
It's good to have you on, man. We were worried about you in that hotel room with the Caribbean chick because what was it? I mean, that was a perfect example of women weakened legs when you ended up in a hospital like shortly after that.
Yeah, well, I was out of shape.
Good job, though. I mean, it had to be wild. I mean, very rare that those kind of episodes lead to a hospitalization unless there was, some acrimony. But you guys are very much together. All right, you have 1 point. You're in the game.
Baseball.
Actually,
Yeah.
Actually,
I mean, for a guy
comment-
with a bad ticker, Viagra probably not the greatest thing, especially in
All right,
mass doses.
sports.
Yeah.
You're just trying.
All right. The Bowie Bo Sox, a AAA team, is running a promotion to celebrate Daniel Snyder's departure as owner of Washington's NFL franchise, now owned in part by Josh Harris and Magic Johnson. Anyone wearing a Lakers jersey or with the first name of Josh or last name of Harris gets a box seat for $10 tonight while they last versus the Atlanta Curve. True or false?
Oh. Some promotion.
I'd say you made that up.
That was very
I'd say
specific.
false.
Yeah.
No, that's true.
That's
Yeah,
true.
That is true.
Specific to be
Yeah,
false.
that's true.
Wow. That's a weird promotion there. I think vasectomy night probably would end up being more successful. That was
It's a cut above some other promotions. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Mike Veck, man.
Get it,
Remember
cut
Mike
above.
Veck? He
Never
was
mind,
great.
okay.
Yeah.
Above comment. Yes, got it. Go
All right, one going for
Baseball.
4. Here we go.
Baseball. Who are the only two players to win a league MVP, a World Series MVP, and an All-Star Game MVP? One of them is Frank Robinson. Who's the other one?
All right.
Is it Willie Mays, Orlando Cepeda, Brooks Robinson, or Cal Ripken Jr.?
You go to Orlando Cepeda.
Orlando Cepeda is incorrect.
Believe it or not, it was the other Robinson, Brooks Robinson,
That's what I was
64,
thinking.
70, and 66. Yep.
Would have been my guess. So I would have had the 4 points. Andy does not, however, and he is going for 6 here in a spot in the finals.
Well, he's got a shot at this one. In 1972, horse racing, 1 year before Secretariat's Triple Crown, Riva Ridge looked to be on his way to horse racing's ultimate prize after a dominating win in the Kentucky Derby, but he was upset in the Preakness by what horse was that?
Or by
Master Derby?
Ooh. Yeah.
Was it Master Derby, Oxbow, Little Current, or BBB?
Wow. I should know this.
Little Current.
Little Current.
No, that was 75 with Miguel Rivera. It was Eldon on BBB at 19-1.
Yes, I eliminated that horse immediately as soon as I got the scratch sheet. I just put a line right through it there in Richard Dreyfuss fashion. And, of course, romped away and won. All right, we have a predicament here, and that is that nobody had a total worthy of being in the final. So Lubie's going to assemble randomly 2 people to compete for the championship here, Dave Gurggles Gergely. And you have what coming up with all of your golf ventures?
I've got St. John's Newman's Catholic School on Saturday. I'll
My
miss the
alma mater,
Preakness.
yeah.
Friday is Black Eyed Susan, and I'll be at Doral for Safe Haven for Newborns, a really nice charity working down there. But we're busy here at the golf course. Renovations starting probably in July. Brand new clubhouse, restaurant, everything. So busy times coming up, and we wish all of our listeners good luck on the upcoming Preakness race this weekend while they're enjoying a Perdomo cigar and betting at Hialeah Park.
What's the status of what was Shula's Steakhouse? Is that still in existence or coming back as something else?
There are some. There's some still around. The one here will not be a
No, but I
Shula's,
mean
but it
the one in
reopens on
Miami
the-
Lakes. Yeah.
Miami Lakes is not. It has not opened since COVID reopened.
Wow.
So that whole restaurant's going to be torn down, and a brand new banquet facilities and restaurant will be in place when that's completed. That may not be till like 2025 though.
Oh, I mean,
The Shula's that's the closest. Orlando's the main one in Dolphin Hotel up there. But in Miami Lakes, Shula's Stillhouse is on the 16th where he lived, and we still speak highly of him, but the name is not involved with any of the restaurants anymore.
David Shula, man, great job. He had Manny Pacquiao eating burgers at the airport in the Philippines there. They opened up like a Shula's Burgers in the Philippines, and it was like smoking hot there at the airport. That was great. I thought maybe we broke them by exercising our rights to all of those freebies that you got aced out of with the
What do you mean?
Polyman.
What do you mean
back
we?
in the day?
What do you mean we?
Me and Marvin Roman when we ate there on your ticket.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Paulie and I went there one time, and we split some broccoli.
And everything was a la carte, man. I mean, I remember, and this was nervy at the time to charge $8 for a baked potato, but now it'd be a bargain in a lot of steakhouses.
Yeah, you're right.
That's for sure.
You're right.
All right, ready for the finals here. We have Mike versus Pat.
Yes.
Gurggles going to fire off the question. Call out your name if you want to answer right away. Nobody answers right away. We offer multiple choice. First person to call out his name gets first choice. We go back and forth until we have a winner. Good luck, gentlemen, for the championship. This week's edition, Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. The great Dave Gurggles Gergely.
Hoops. Well, the Nuggets, we talked about them not being in the finals since 76. In 1975, the then Denver Nuggets of the ABA went into their new home, McNichols Arena. But they weren't the first activity to be there. What was the first show ever in the brand new McNichols Arena in 1975?
Wow.
Was it A, the Ringling Brothers Circus, B, a Led Zeppelin concert, C, a Lawrence Welk concert, or D, an exhibition game versus Milwaukee?
Pat's already jumped in. Pat.
Led Zeppelin.
Zepp.
No.
Incorrect. That would have been my guess. Sounded logical. 3 left for Mike.
A, a Ringling Brothers Circus, C, a Lawrence Welk concert, or D, an exhibition game versus the Milwaukee Bucks?
C.
C.
What was that?
C like cat.
D,
as in Charlie?
C?
C like cat.
C as in Charlie?
Yeah.
Yes. It was a
It
Lawrence Welk concert,
Welk.
believe it or not. Yeah.
Welk opened the arena? Are you
Yes,
kidding
Mike
me?
From the Keys. We appreciate him, Mike.
Was the
Thanks.
champagne lady
And
there?
his famous license, remember Lawrence Welk's famous vanity license plate? A1 NA2.
Oh, yeah. He was great, man. Bobby and Sissy were a little strange, weren't they? I don't know if they were, both transgender or what was going on with that. Don't want to touch that. I didn't mean to imply that was strange at all either. I don't want to sound like Ron DeSantis here, because we're very much for all forms of diversity here on the program. The champagne lady, man. What was the story with her, man? Would you have had sex
Oh,
with the
champagne lady
back in the day? Yeah.
I don't know. I think she was fooling around with Myron.
Do you remember her
the
name?
guy that played the guitar.
Do you remember her name?
Missy,
Was it Norman Zimmer, Don Zimmer, or Fritz Zimmer?
It was Norma Zimmer.
Norman
that's
Zimmer,
right.
yeah. But he always pronounced it as if it was a TS, the Z. So it was Norman Zimmer with Lawrence Welk.
That was him.
How did he make it, man? It didn't look like he was really doing much up there. I mean, do you think he was that influential over, the actual, product that was coming out?
Look at it this way. Look at it this way. Look at all the years you've lasted. All right. Anyway, folks.
Hey, way to sign off there, Gurggles. Yeah. Happy birthday to you, too. All right, Gurggles, ladies and gentlemen, and the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. Congratulations there. Mike hit it, right?
Mike
With
was our champion.
The Lawrence Welk thing. What a way to open up a building, huh? You invest all this taxpayer money in a building, and then you pop on. He was popular at the time. All right.
Boring.
All right, we're going to come back with more. We also have we'll have hoops with Sean Devaney coming up. Sean Devaney is going to join us from Heavy.com. That was great last night. Let's not get away from it. Up 1-0 over the Celtics, Lubie. Where does that leave us? Do the Celtics actually have a better team than the Miami Heat? Is that question, obviously remains unanswered? Would you be more inclined to say, nay to that? Because everybody was of that same feeling that the Celtics in general. I mean, when you also scratch Tyler Hero, what is the story there? I think about this, the way this team is performing, without a guy that normally would be the second guy that you would count on for points.
Yes.
And sometimes your primary source.
Yes.
And how would he be benefiting from this triple teaming of Jimmy Butler?
Oh,
Tyler
no.
Hero.
I mean, I would have made them the favorite if Tyler Hero played. If Tyler Hero played, the Heat would have been the favorite to me, and I could have seen them winning in 6. Like, not having Tyler Hero is a big deal. The Celtics have their entire team, and the Heat are missing their third best player, second best offensive player, and probably their third or fourth best defender in Oladipo. That gave the Celtics the nod to me, but that didn't make them this overwhelming. Like 8.5 is a lot for a freaking first game in an Eastern Conference Finals. Like,
That did seem like a fat outlay of points. I will say that. I don't know if I would have had the balls to bet the Heat on the money line. I probably would not, which I didn't.
yeah.
You were getting, I mean, a prohibitive. Think about this for the series right now. Well, all of those people that are choking on that, laying 550 to win 100 on the Celtics. Can you imagine? I mean, there had to be a certain amount. I mean, a substantial amount of money. You would think that went at minus 550 on the Celtics. And you wonder why DraftKings and FanDuel and all of these betting sites are sponsoring everything now except this show, which, we hope to soon change. Because that's where the money is. And from people that are getting sucked in on laying $550 to win 100, thinking that the Celtics were a cinch to win the series. That is borderline criminal insanity, is it not? They may well win it. I mean, it still looms as a very large possibility. Although, based on what we saw last night, can this continue to happen? The role players normally, I mean, this is the cliche, normally not as effective on the road as they are at home. All right. Would you say that, Strus, Lowry, Caleb Martin, and Gabe Vincent are essentially role players on this Miami Heat team, or is the entire Heat team just a bunch of role players?
No, it's Caleb
Is
Martin.
Bam Adebayo and Butler, you would say, are out of that category. They are legitimate NBA bona fide star players.
Lowry's, I guess, considered a role player, but he's not.
Well, he is playing a role. I mean, he's coming off the bench here, and he's being asked to spark up an offense. And last night, he was hitting circus shots, this guy, Lowry.
Look, the Celtics' deeper stuff is a load of garbage. Like, people have to know that. Like, Pritchard wouldn't make the Heat roster. Who is it? Grant Williams? He didn't even play last night. Like, their bench.
Pritchard looks like, the owner's son, huh? It was like when Harry Mangorian owned the Boston Celtics and his son went to Syracuse. And, what was, quite the playboy, this guy. Good-looking kid. I remember Harry Mangorian. Remember when he owned the Celtics? He also, he was like a furniture magnate from Boston, this guy. And his son was in my same freshman class at Syracuse. And, man, I mean, he drove like some absolutely sensational car that we couldn't even begin to guess what it was. It was so sophisticated and customized, and had every hot chick. And the guy was a really good-looking guy. But it would be like if Mangorian put his own son out there, Pritchard. Doesn't it look that way?
Yeah, I mean, Pritchard, Grant Williams, who didn't play, Derek White isn't better than anyone the Heat have coming off the bench. Like it's Brogdon. Brogdon, who is a starter, but on the bench, or Smart, who has started on the bench, gives him a better bench. Yeah, until Lowry became Lowry again. This Lowry isn't any worse than what Smart's doing, and it isn't any worse than what Brogdon's doing. Like, that idea that the Celtics are so deep, that's not true. That's not true.
I thought they were. I mean, and I thought that, Marcus Smart might be the differential in the series.
He's a starter.
Yeah.
So, the tertiary dudes are actually not leaning Celtics. People just make them one group and lie to them. Like, they're not better. They play better at times, just like the Heat guys last night played better. Like, the nod goes to the fact that they have a third guy starting because the Heat don't have Hero. Fine. But Butler's better than Tatum. I don't give a shit what fucking All-American, NBA, anyone who's watched the playoffs, and Tatum's gone off. Butler's a better all-around player than Tatum. And I don't even know if it's close when you go the word term all-around. Bam is right there with Jaylen Brown for what he does for this team, is right there with Jaylen Brown. Again, an all-star. Like, the rosters aren't far. I don't know why people got into this thing because they just kept saying it. You say something so many times that you believe it.
Gave Miami no chance. I mean, that was remarkable. I don't know. What was that 3% versus 97% based on? What was that?
Stupidity.
But no, but I mean, what was it? Chances to win the series? They only gave the Heat a 3%. How is that even remotely possible that you would completely discount the team? Like we said earlier, I would have thought, a slight advantage for the Boston Celtics, maybe Celtics in 7 games. I don't know if the home court advantage is as significant for them as it has been for the Miami Heat, who have, I would imagine, a a far superior record. The Celtics are now 4-4 at home in the postseason. That isn't saying much, considering that their early opponent, the Atlanta Hawks, was given no chance, except for the fact that they beat the Miami Heat. It seemed like both teams were doomed. The Atlanta Hawks were going to go down feebly to the Celtics, and they even beat them in what? Did they win 1 or 2 home games in that series?
They took them to 6 games.
Took
them to 6 games.
Took them to 6.
Trae Young's a star. That's fine, but no one was saying that. Like,
yeah.
I'm not even trying to shit on the
Is it the curse of Bob Kraft? He's been attending these games.
No,
They had every celebrity that ever had a meal in Boston, a bowl of chowder was out there last night. That was something. I mean, how deflated were those fans? They come back strongly, though. The Boston Celtic fans, I think, they come back loaded and embraced with confidence that they will win Game 2.
They probably will. Look, Tatum's a legit great player, and Jaylen Brown is really good, if not great. And that's the thing. It's not shitting on the Celtics. It's just this idea that they're like the freaking Warriors when they won their titles. It's like, no, like, I don't know what you're watching. The Bucks were that. The Bucks were the one team that I would say, shit, they're really good. They're really deep. They're really talented. And he beat them in 5 without Hero. So it's like, why couldn't they go toe-to-toe with the Celtics, who are worse than the Bucks? And they're better than what you thought going into that Bucks series. It's just, I don't know.
You're wondering how the hell this is happening. And it does show you the brilliance of, the radio industry's desire to self-sabotage and our inclination towards self-sabotage.
Right now it's the worst time for this.
You imagine it? I mean, you got a local radio station that we worked for 12 years, essentially paying ourselves the entire time by advertising sales, much like we're doing now and have done in the past. But they had a decent arrangement with us because they had no idea or understanding of what it consisted of, which was great. Right? We would walk in there and do a show. But I mean, how could you possibly want to have like some network program on when you have the hottest season in the history of South Florida winter sports ever, by far eclipsing anything that we've ever experienced? 2 teams doing the impossible as 8 seeds after what happened in the college basketball tournament. Spectacular. And we don't want to leave out, Jim Sarney's Miami Marlins, who, at least, I mean, to this point, nobody's paying any attention to him, but somehow they're over 500 with a bunch of schleppers. It's amazing. So that's been happening, and it's just been a glamorous time, South Florida sports scene here. And yet, imagine, local media, newspapers down to nobody covering these teams on a regular basis. And radio stations, down to 1 sports station in town, and they have like 3 shows, and that's it. Unbelievable. Brilliant decision on the part of management there. Yeah.
They just don't exist anymore. That's what 5 Reasons is for. That's why we're here, and that's why 5 Reasons is flourishing, because it's a new day. And that's the thing too. Not only is it weird to not be local, but the national media has been so wrong that if you're pumping
completely discounted, like at times we have our local teams.
If you're pumping in national radio right now, but they're still, like, we watched the games and go, okay, we were wrong. They're still doing it. They're still watching these 2 teams, Panthers and Heat, and going, it's like, okay.
Panthers literally have been underdogs, I want to say, in every game that they played in the postseason so far.
Yes, they haven't been.
They were underdogs, and maybe, by right, to the sensational regular season record of the Boston Bruins, all 7 games. And they were underdogs, I believe, in all 5 games against Toronto. So 12 straight times they've been underdogs, and they've responded by going, what would that be? 8-4, winning 67% clip. Be nice. I mean, we're on the wrong side of this. I'm cashing no money on this, and I think I wasted my $20 on Jason Day. What do you think? 20 to win 500? I have to give you the 20. I probably could sell it to the professor, but I'm sure you would prefer to just have me hand you cash, no? So remind me of that at our thing today with Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. What is that? Deck 84?
Deck 84 in
Delray Beach. Okay, we'll be out there later on today, 12 o'clock, for you fans in the northern part of Broward County, Delray Beach later on today. Lubie on the road at Deck 84 with Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. And I will be there as well, because I want to meet that Burt Rappaport cat, man. He's been a very successful restaurateur here, and he's going to be on the show later on today. Yes. All right, we'll come back with more. Sean Devaney going to join us. We'll get some more analysis. You also have the Lakers and the Nuggets tonight. Hey, Lubie. You know what? I believe I believe the Nuggets are going to win the championship. So
I do.
we may as well go with the Lakers tonight, no? And figure that we're dead wrong again.
See, that's the opinion I wanted to talk about that we haven't talked about.
I would like to be right about the Lakers, after touting them all season.
Like, this was my favorite. It's what the media's, or I guess the Boston Celtics coach actually said this out loud. We won 3 of the 4 quarters, which I don't know what that means. When the last 3 minutes of that game, Nuggets Lakers, in which the Nuggets were dominating for 3.5 quarters, and the Nuggets did win. Van Gundy and the other guys, I think, echoed this, said this, which I don't. Again, one team is up 1-0, the other team's down 0-1.
Yeah.
Said, if I'm the Lakers, I'm feeling really confident right now. If I'm the Nuggets,
I'm not. I'm down 1-0. Yeah.
I'm concerned, and I'm like, what? They're like, well, that switch they did with Rui Hachimura, who's 6'8", 220 pounds, covering Jokic, who's 6'11", probably 7 feet, 290 pounds. Wow, what a move.
325 on this guy, no?
Yeah,
He's
what a
Shaq-esque.
move. They're saying he's 280, but I think he's more like 200. What a move they did, and the Nuggets had no answers. I'm like, what? The answer was to double Jokic, who's the best passing big man we've ever seen, and they still won. Hello?
Bill Walton, man, might argue that point.
No, but that's the thing.
Was
Walton was better, but Walton also had the knee thing, and that did affect his entire career.
Oh, great passer out of the post, though.
He was
great.
Tremendous passer.
Shaq was a good passer out of the post.
Shaq, good passer. Weber, good. There's been a lot of great passers. They're not. Jokic literally will run the break and run the offense from the goddamn top of the key. Like, Jokic is just something we've never seen before.
No, he's amazing, man.
So you're telling me him getting doubled up isn't to the Nuggets' benefit? Like, isn't that actually the opposite of what you want to do? Like, so it worked for 3 minutes. Yeah, it worked for 3 minutes, and now they had a day to fucking tinker, and they still won. Like,
well, and it's another Yogi Berraism there, deep depth. They appear to have just a drop more, than the other teams that are left in the postseason, including the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics. And when they get rolling, man, I mean, I guess all of these teams look good, when they've got it going on. But
and the last 4.
We'll see. You know what? It'll be interesting to see how the Lakers respond to what happened. I don't know that they gathered so much momentum in that game, but the fact that they weren't completely embarrassed probably was encouraging.
Look, I'm not
but that's been the MO of the Lakers in the postseason so far. Mm-hmm. They get trounced and then come back and win. I mean, that happened in the Memphis series. And it happened numerous times. I mean, they went back and forth, exchanging like 20-point blowouts in the Golden State series in the last 3 games. So, I mean, can the Lakers respond tonight? That'll be an entertaining game, I think, all the way around. Any game involving LeBron James in a quest to win a championship, I believe, is, it ratcheted up the entertainment quotient a little bit, especially with him doing his part to make that come about.
Hey,
you see the will and determination on this guy's part, which is fantastic to see something that is essentially a complete intangible sort of manifest itself right in front of your eyes. How about that for a little sports journalism poetry there, Lubie? The smell of the oil in the glove, the stitches on the baseball. Go fuck yourself, DeForest. That's what you were thinking when I was doing that stuff. That was weak.
That was my favorite. What are you talking
That
about?
was weak.
Oh, it's so not you. It's what you make fun of all the time.
There's part of me that wants to do that.
I like
Kind
it.
of intellectual, poetic, approach to this whole thing. Where going back to the day when like Sports Illustrated was a magazine that was must read, and the articles were, very literary in terms of their content. And you're thinking, wow, that's good sports writing, huh? Unbelievable. Miss that a lot, right? I mean, look, what a shame it is that you don't have that really as an art form anymore. I don't know that the Post is laced with brilliant sports writing, but it's as close as you can come to what used to be in the glory era of sports journalism, print journalism anyway, where, you would read like marvelous features as a regular thing in almost every newspaper sports section. 3-part series, this, that, the other thing, investigative pieces, all kinds of great stuff. And that just doesn't happen too much anymore. Unless, the Washington Post does this with John Feinstein. Is that possible, Lubie? That he's still doing that sort of thing?
Yes, Feinstein for sure still does it. He's freaking Feinstein. I mean,
Feinstein.
But how? And I'm sure Robbins has his moments where he still does it. Like, just how many people are doing it? That's rare.
Very rare. All right, Sean Devaney's still doing it as a writer with Heavy.com, and we'll talk to him in just a moment about what's going on these final 2 series in the NBA before we get to the championship round in a moment. Now that
The time.
It's 8:35. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Codsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Codsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
Either right-handed or left-handed, get down in there, jerk off the defender.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on the Defo Show.
I don't know if you need to go to that level of extreme there to jerk off the defender. Hubie Brown suggested. Not sure exactly that he meant that literally, but figuratively, you're thinking, yeah, it might involve some
It
truth
would be
moves there.
distracting.
Yeah. Rodman would maybe attempt something like that. That was about it. Maybe a couple of other characters that have been in the league. All right, welcome back to the show, the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, Michael Lubitz, and we want to talk some baskets here because it's Man of La Mancha time here in South Florida, and everybody had discounted the Miami Heat as a possible team to emerge from this championship round in the Eastern Conference against the vaunted Boston Celtics, who had a real good regular season. But we know this, that the media is often wrong. And while it was unanimous, most of the places that I saw pooled with who people liked in the series, including both of us, Lubie, at Boston in 7, the Heat take the first step towards forging another upset by winning last night and just annihilating Boston in the third quarter. We welcome to the show and a longtime NBA analyst and reporter, writer, and columnist, Sean Devaney joins us here on the program from Heavy.com. Sean, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Defo. How are you?
Were you among those who, trying to bury America by saying, hey, you know what, nice run by the Heat, but it ends here against the Celtics?
I was, yeah, and look, this has been typical Celtics, I think, and typical Heat. They've risen to the occasion. Can't give them an opening, and the Celtics have been giving teams opening all throughout the playoffs. Now, like I say, it's not new for Boston. The thing is, you can't do that against Miami, and if they continue to do that, Miami's going to win the series. Whereas a team like Philadelphia or Atlanta, I think, really shrank when the Celtics gave them that kind of. Miami's not going to shrink. So, this is something where it's something that we've seen from the Celtics, but this time it's going to be different if they continue that.
Sean Devaney guesting with us here on the show. We thought it was phenomenal. I mean, maybe the greatest halftime adjustment ever when Eric Spoelstra told his players, hey, how about making some shots? and they came out firing there in the third quarter, 16 of 31. They beat the Celtics at their own game. The Celtics, they kept pointing out on the broadcast when you could hear between Kevin Holland's screaming play-by-play that the Celtics normally hoist 40 three-pointers up there a game. They only attempted like 27. Meanwhile, the Heat goes 16 for 31 from three-point range, getting buckets and multiple three-pointers from a variety of sources, and that seemed to be the difference in the game, along with Jimmy Butler's very inspired Butler-esque play in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that third quarter, they were 6 for 9 from the 3-point line. Matt Strus probably hasn't gotten enough credit for the way he shot the ball, especially in that third quarter. It seemed like the shots that he made were the ones where, the Heat had a 3-4 point lead, and he really made that into a 9-10 point lead. He was the one who was really kind of pushing that lead. So a lot of credit for him. I've talked to Max about this before. He still holds a little bit of a grudge against the Celtics. Don't forget the Celtics cut him in 2019 so that they could keep Taco Fall, and Taco Fall's now playing in China, and Max Strus is now knocking down 3-pointers. So he's I don't think he'd probably say that at this point, but he definitely told me that before, that he still harbors a little bit of grudge against the Celtics. So I'm sure that felt pretty good for him.
Imagine that being cut for a circus act. Incredible. That would be insulting, man.
Remember, if you go back to that, don't forget that Taco Fall. Everybody loves Taco Fall.
Yes.
The Celtics really felt like, we're going to get hammered if we let this guy go, even though we know he's not going to play. And Max Strus was the guy that they let go. They would have kept Max Strus if it was strictly on basketball, but they felt like everybody loved Taco Fall, so they had to keep him.
So and even I, like Devo said, I was once Hero and Oladipo are out. To me, you give the Celtics the lean roster-wise for sure, and I'd give them the lean in this series. What I'm struggling with is just this overall idea, not the regular season, okay? What we've seen in these playoffs, to just run to say, well, the Celtics are just so much deeper. These are the guys the Celtics are bringing off the bench. These are the guys the Heat are bringing off the bench. Derek White, 36-year-old Al Horford, Peyton Pritchard, and an older Brogdon. The Heat are bringing this Lowry, not regular season Lowry, this Kevin Love, this Strus, and this Caleb Martin. I'm not saying that's an amazing group for the Heat, but that's not an amazing group for the Celtics. Like this, to me, this idea that the Celtics are just so much deeper. When you're watching Lowry,
I would strongly take you to task on that, Lucy. I mean, Brogdon has been fantastic all year. I mean, he's a 6th man of the year. Derek White was the starter for much of the year, and he's been really, really good. It was a surprise that they used Peyton Pritchard the way they did. I think the real question is what's going on with Grant Williams, and who was so important to the Celtics last year, getting DMPs in this postseason ahead of a free agent summer, which is not very popular with him, I'm sure. But that's the big question to me. But look, Lowry, no question, he's been great, and Caleb Martin. I agree that it's not an overwhelming difference. But you also have, with the Celtics, you have 2-star scorers with Tatum and Brown, and you don't necessarily have that. We haven't seen it consistently for Bam Adebayo. He has that potential, but certainly it's not something we've seen consistently. And with Tyler Hero out, you really are lacking. So look, I get your point, but I just think if you go position by position, or you go 1 through 8, then Celtics have a huge advantage in this roster.
Most people would say the Heat have a giant advantage with coaching. Spoelstra, 15 years in the league and a proven commodity, regarded by many to be the best. We are convincing ourselves slowly, Sean, too, that he could have won with the Generals. And it seems like he's throwing some of the Generals' rejects out there. I mean, you mentioned Strus. For him to be playing with a chip on his shoulder, I mean, it wasn't like he was a household name when he came to the Heat. You were, wondering who's this guy, that nondescript white guy that suddenly is on the roster. He turned out to be a valuable player. It is kind of impressive, and I guess this happens, but, it would be on rare occasion where a team like the Heat that staggered into the postseason as the 8th seed and barely got by Chicago in that second play-in game suddenly reverses form. I mean, they were a horrible 3-point shooting team all season long. And now that's obviously been one of their strengths and has carried them to this position in the postseason. All right. Are you like many people? I mean, I'm sure you've seen a lot of NBA basketball. Many people are already saying the Celtics are burnt beyond recognition in this series. Where would you rate the chances of? We thought the Celtics would win this in 7 games. Are we ready to discount them yet, based on what we saw last night?
No, I mean, look, they've been a really good road team. I mean, they did the same thing in Philadelphia against Philadelphia. Where they lose game 1 and James Harden goes off, and then they kind of regroup and they win games 2 and 3. Really have a stinker in game 5 against Philadelphia, and then they really look on the ropes because they're down 3-2. If they come back and they win the final 2 games of that series, so yeah, I mean, I've never been one to say that this series is going to be 5 games or anything like that. I've always thought that this was going to be similar to last year's series, where it's going to come down to a game 7 and probably some makes and misses down the stretch that wind up deciding the thing. I thought the Celtics had too much and that they'd eventually win a game 7 on their home floor. Don't forget, look, this team in its last 18 playoff games at home, they're 8-10. They are not a great team. It is not the mystical, magical Boston Garden for this group. So the fact that they lost is they've been doing that. They dig themselves these holes and they've managed to dig themselves out mostly. But they've not been a great team at the Garden. So again, like I don't think that you want to toy around with the Heat and give them these kinds of opportunities with what we've seen from how they defend, how well they're coached, how disciplined they are, and like, as you mentioned, how they've been shooting 3-pointers at a different level than they have all year. But for the Celtics, it's a little bit of the same old, and somehow they keep winning series.
We've had 3 coaches in the Eastern Conference who got their teams into the postseason. All get canned. Adam Silver, I think, even had to address this. Somebody posed a question to him about how weird it is, the fragile coaching tenures in the NBA right now, where you would have that kind of a circumstance with Budenholzer, Doc Rivers, and Monty Williams, all getting fired after taking their teams into the postseason. In Rivers and Williams' case, even winning a round of playoff games before running into a team that may go on and win the conference championship. Both respectively. What do you make of that? I mean, is this something that people could have foreseen? Because it seems like you're almost better off not making the postseason if you want to maintain your coaching tenure.
Yeah, or don't win the Coach of the Year. That's usually a kiss of death.
That's a kiss of death. That's a Rachel Nichols curse right there. Yeah.
There you go. But I think there's some coincidence involved. I think that to lump them all together and say there's a trend here, I think that ignores the fact that you could look at the Doc Rivers situation. I mean, he wasn't brought in by Daryl Morey, and Morey gave him another chance after last year's appointment last year. And I think everybody knew that, look, if they couldn't get at least to the conference finals, that was probably going to be it for Doc. And so you keep that situation where then you look at the Phoenix situation. That's a new owner. That's this Matt Ishbia, who's coming in. He's kind of doing Mark Cuban. If you remember Mark Cuban when he first got the Mavericks and treated them a little bit like they were his plaything, and he wanted to be involved. He wanted to do all the things his way. All that. It usually takes those kinds of owners a few years to realize that just hire basketball people and let them do their job. So. I think that was the case of the owner getting a little too involved. And then the Budenholzer thing was definitely a surprise in Milwaukee. But, considering, the disappointment they had last year and then coming back this year to lose in the first round as the number 1 seed, again, it's not that big of a surprise. So I think it's wrong to lump them all together and say something's going on here. I think you got to look into those situations individually.
Is this going to be like the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Neil Walk draft? You think Zembenyama is going to do what for San Antonio, in your opinion? And how significant was that? Because you would think I don't know if Popovich was inclined to want to retire after this horrible year and all the beatings he took at 22 and 60, but you would think this rejuvenates his interest in sticking around. How influential do you think this kid will be?
Yeah, I think there was a chance that Pop would have retired. I think he always wanted to leave the organization in good hands, and now it will be. So I'd expect him to coach Wembanyama certainly his rookie year, maybe 2 years, and then move on. Yeah, I mean, just looking at what I've seen from film and talking to people, there's no question that this is a 7-foot guy, a 7'4" guy with an 8-foot wingspan who can shoot threes and block shots and sounds too good to be true until you actually watch him. You say, oh yeah, he can really do those things. And he's playing professionally in France, so he's getting challenged by not I wouldn't say the second best, but probably one of the top 4 or 5 leagues in the world, and he's certainly holding his own there. So and for a 19-year-old kid, it's pretty incredible how good he can be. I think the one thing is, when I look at him, I see Ralph Sampson, and that's the one question mark is, can he stay healthy? And I mean, as good as Ralph Sampson was, and the people that he was kind of always doomed because he just couldn't, he had the feet, and we've seen that over and over again with great big men who just have these little bones in their feet that they can't keep healthy, and that would worry me. Ralph Sampson, like I said, is the guy that comes in, but Yao Ming, obviously Phil Walton, there's a lot of examples of that. So that would be the one concern about him for me. But if he's healthy, man, he's a guy who could take a game that's already changed and kind of keep pushing it in that direction, where big men can do a little bit of everything.
So, and we've done it, and it's something people have done all year. The Nuggets and the Lakers are playing. They're in the Western Conference Finals. I find it interesting, and I get it. Look, I won't say you can't take things from losses. I'm sure the Celtics will take something from last night, and I'm not going to say the Lakers can't take something away from a Game 1 loss versus Denver Nuggets. But math is still a thing. To me, the team that wins the game can take more away than the team that loses. But if you didn't watch the game and just turned on it's not just ESPN, any source nationally, you would think the Lakers won Game 1 because they did something weird the last 6 minutes, and Jokic, who was looking like Wilt Chamberlain, went back to being a good player, not a great player. So they figured it out. I have to look, I get it. I understand there's narratives, and I understand that we want these series to be tight, and it may be a tight series. But to me, the team that wins should take more away from a game than the team that loses. I ask you, what did you take away from Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals?
If I'm the coach of the Nuggets, Michael Malone, I couldn't be more pleased with the fact that I'm up 1-0. And everybody's quite sure that we're going to lose. And not only that, and not only that, but you can take, you already know what the Lakers are going to do. You already know what their adjustment's going to be. They put Rui Hachimura on Jokic and gave him a look with the smaller guy. So if I'm Michael Malone now, all right, I'm already set with my counter. I'm already set with what I'm coming back with. Because I've seen what you're going to do, that's if I'm a coach, that's the ideal position to be in going into a Game 2 at home. Now they're going to have to go out and do it. If you take Anthony Davis off of Jokic, do you send Jokic down into the post a little bit more? Where he was so effective on the perimeter against Davis. Now, do you want to, if they're going to put a smaller guy on him, do you send him to the post? And how do you adjust off of that? They're going to have to make shots. They're going to have to make perimeter shots as they did in Game 1. I think they're going to have to adjust certainly on the defensive end as well. But Denver's all about scoring, and if the Lakers are trying to keep up. If the kind of scores that we saw in that first game, 132 and 126, if that's what the Lakers' plan is we're going to outspend, they're not going to. Denver's a much, the Lakers need this to be a defensive game, and if it's not, then no question the Nuggets are going to win this thing. So I think it's not a bad position to be in for the Nuggets. Let everybody talk about how the Lakers are going to win this thing, even though you're up 1-0.
I say Jean Moran. You say what at this point, Sean Devaney? Well, what do we make of that?
I say shut your phone off, man. Like, I mean,
Wow.
just disconnect from the phone. Like, I mean, look, players and guns, this is something that goes back to, 30, 40 years, where a guy would get pulled over and have a gun, wasn't registered in his car or something, and you read about it and it'd be a problem and all that. Now it's not guys getting pulled over. It's guys going, like, voluntarily going on the internet, holding a gun and brandishing it, and it's just it's so stupid. So again, like, it's not nothing new. It's not something new necessarily. It's just really dumb, and it's going to wind up being probably, I don't know, 25%, 25 game suspension. It's going to be significant because it just happened, and he's kind of forced Adam Silver's hand, and up until, say, the All-Star break or a little bit after that, this was John Morant's big breakout year. I mean, there was a number 2 seed. He's playing great. So much fun to watch. This was a guy who, whatever Jokic is doing now, this was supposed to be that should have been John Morant's moment. What Jokic is doing now, getting a national audience, this could be what John Morant was doing. And instead, we're talking about this, and it's going to be suspended, and the Grizzlies are going to have decisions to make about how they structure their roster, what they. It's pretty crazy, and it's just really. It's self-inflicted, and that's the worst part about this, is it'd be so easy for him to avoid.
Imagine Adam Silver's reaction when he got the call there. There's another video. What are you talking about, Lou? I can't believe this. As the sponsors were lining up to, disassociate themselves from the NBA, as lucrative as those relationships can be. All right. What is James Harden talking about? He needs to get some basketball freedom. I mean, what? I mean, I'm looking at a guy that looks like he should be auditioning for the remake of Requiem for a Heavyweight Man in the Anthony Quinn role. And, fourth quarter, another disappearing act there. He had, I think, 0 field goals in games 5, 6, and 7 of the series that they just lost to the Boston Celtics. James Harden, who, had acquitted himself pretty well during the regular season. You thought, all right, he's not the 55-point dynamo that he used to be, but he can be on occasion. But, he's filling, a very, very, important and distinct role and doing it well. What happened to this guy? I mean, where's he going? How does this end up?
I think what he was trying to tell the Sixers front office is that he wants 72-year-old Mike D'Antoni to be his next coach.
Mike D'Antoni.
I think that's exactly what it was, because he's the only guy who's ever given James Harden complete freedom. And I mean, this talk that he'd go to Houston. I'd love to see James Harden go to Houston and ask Ime Udoka for some freedom.
I need freedom.
So I think that was a subtle message to the front office to make Mike D'Antoni the next head coach, and God love. I mean, this is a guy who doesn't want to be coached. Does not want to be coached. That's what it comes down to. Doc Rivers has a great reputation as a player's coach, sometimes to his detriment, as we've seen. So for James Harden to say something like that is, to me, it's an indication that this guy is he is asking to not be coached, and Mike D'Antoni is the only coach that they could bring in who's not going to coach James Harden, and we'll see how that goes over with Joel Embiid.
Best teeth in the NBA, though, Mike D'Antoni. I mean, obviously the same dentist as Secretariat to keep those those teeth looking as bright. Whenever he sneers at a referee there with that sort of a shit-eating grin that coaches like to use, Spoelstra is a master at that. D'Antoni really stands out. All right, Sean, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been very exciting, and back-to-back action. It's going to be every other day. So it's nice to see that as well. And the Cinderella story continues here in South Florida for both our winter sports teams, with the Florida Panthers also still in action. So, it really is, the Sunshine State's time to be in the big spotlight here. And we've been having a lot of fun with it. I hope you have been too. Thanks so much for being with us. It's always a pleasure, my friend.
All right. Thanks, Defo. Thanks, Lubie. See you guys.
Thanks,
Sean Devaney, man. Came up with some good stuff. I didn't realize that Max Strus has a chip on his shoulder against the Celtics because they kept Taco Fall now playing in China over Max Strus.
That was great. I didn't even realize that at all. He's been with the Heat so many years now and such a key factor.
Obscure facto, I mean, on the show. Unreal.
I did not realize that. Yeah, that was great. I was like, Taco.
Who would have thunk it, right? You're thinking, okay, yeah, if somebody's got an attitude in this thing, it's Jimmy Butler because he always has an attitude, no matter who he's playing. And, Max Strus has an attitude about the Celtics. That's awesome, man. Probably refused to wear the number 6 on his uniform there in honor of the recently departed Bill Russell. Just ripped it right off there and says, fuck the Celtics. Unbelievable. They cut me for Taco Fall, for Christ's sake.
By the way,
9 freak.
And again, as much as I love that bit of information, and I think Devin does a great job, I appreciate him joining us. I'm looking at the 2 rosters, and we don't have to do this. It's like Mayo going down.
Boy, he took you to task on that, man.
I'm looking at the 2 rosters, and again, I don't want to be like Mayo doing the Kentucky Derby results, even though he did have a reason, but no one wants to hear that live on air. So I won't go through each.
Does Mike remember who finished 15th? We'll have to ask him on the show today.
I won't go through each name, but again, he said it, and he proved me right. He said, if you look at all season, I don't want to look at all season. We now have 12 games of playoff action. That's a nice sample size. If you look at the 12 games of playoff action,
it's a different team. It really is.
Just as good. I'm sorry, they are. Literally, that's without Hero and Oladipo.
They came back to representing more of what they did last year.
Yes.
Overall, I mean, these other guys for certain.
They were a 1 seed.
We're not this good during the regular season.
You added Brogdon, and the Heat have added Lowry. Lowry didn't play all year and was useless. That's not the guy you're seeing now.
Yeah, no, he's been sharp. He really has. What's weird too is the allegation of time that Spoelstra. I guess this is an Ira Winderman type of thing, or to be discussed on local AM radio. But the allocation of minutes there. I mean, Lowry's razor sharp, and then he's on the bench while other guys are doing it.
Yep.
Which Spoelstra really masterfully worked that roster last night, and seemed to get the most out of virtually everybody. So,
sorry, you're watching these 2 teams, and you're telling me, not the Knicks, but when you're watching Derek White and Gabe Vincent, you want Derek White? That's what I know. That's literally what he said. He's like, well, Derek White started. Yeah, that's not.
Derek White's okay. I mean, he improved his shooting this year over what I've seen in previous seasons.
And so,
but before that, he was kind of a liability shooting the ball from the outside. I thought,
fine.
anyway.
He's a fine player. I don't like him because he kills the Heat, but he's fine. But so
good off the bench. Yeah, second team coming in there.
Look at Gabe Vincent. Look what Gabe Vincent's doing. Like, they literally, again, they wipe each other out.
Yeah.
They do.
Caleb Martin making these shots is huge. Strus being hot. We've seen at times Duncan Robinson make some shots. He had him in there for a few seconds, and then when he didn't make his threes, first couple, man, yanked to the bench, man. See you later, Duncan.
Yeah,
and he managed to get it out of other people. Making your shots, that was the key adjustment at halftime.
Yes.
I would say scoring more than the other team was also a key adjustment. Blowing them out in the third quarter was a key adjustment. I don't know that there was much else there, except to say that, as we've been saying all along, even though we were wrong about, so far anyway, about the series, with the Celtics winning in 7 being the prediction here by both of us, that, and that still looms as a very realistic possibility, maybe even more so now that they lost the first game. But, they've been vulnerable all throughout, so. Let's hope the Cats can get it done tonight. It certainly has been interesting to change from the cynical, low-life, pond scum that we usually are when it comes to analyzing the local teams here, almost thinking that it's better for them to lose every night so we'd have more to talk about and be able to, go ahead and ridicule them even further and talk about how miserable the status is of the South Florida sports fan. That's all very relatable stuff. And people love misery. Misery loves company, does it not, Lubie? You love it. You like to be miserable about your own teams, but the Cinderella ride continues. And here I am rooting for it to just manifest itself again with a Panthers win tonight against the Hurricanes, shaking up the world of hockey as well. 2 8th seeds doing dynamite stuff here for South Florida sports fans. And if you were better, Heat on the money line last night had to be a substantial score. All right, we'll see you later on. We're going to be up in Deerfield Beach. It's Palm Beach County, according to Mike Mayo.
Yes.
Palm Beach County. Okay, so we're crossing the county lines here.
Yes.
And we'll be up there at deck 84, which I believe is like on the beach there. Is it on A1A or something? Where is it? Off Linton Boulevard? Where the heck is this place? No, it's off Atlantic.
I have no idea. I use
Yeah.
GPS.
I GPSed it yesterday. It said to get off at Linton, but then it looks like it's at the end of Atlantic Avenue there in Deerfield Beach or Delray Beach. So we'll be up there later on. Bert Rappaport, man, local restaurateur, an extraordinary restaurateur. He's had a lot of success, been a big part of the culinary scene here in South Florida forever, and he's going to join us on the program. That's Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, 12 o'clock today, South Florida Live, and more commonly viewed on Let's Eat South Florida, which now has 105,000 subscribers. Pretty interesting. Mayo in charge of a monster. That's why we have to watch, some of the things that he says, I mean, he has a tendency to, you mention a place and he completely dismisses it. And then you ask him, have you ever been there? And he says, no. Like, dude, man, you're wielding too much power to, be making idle comments like that.
Or he hasn't been there. The other thing is he hasn't been there in 10 years.
10 years, yeah. I don't even think the place existed 10 years ago. It was like Frank's Diner back then, man. It's crazy, this guy.
I don't think Passo's going to be there. I don't even know if Joe Casal's going to be there.
He needs a drink before every show. He doesn't drink when he's
It does help when he has
okay.
some kind of inebriant.
Get him loosened up there today, early, Lubie. All right, we'll be up there later on today at Deck 84 in Delray Beach. That'll be fun. All right, see you later on as we leave you on that.
The time.
It's 9:06.
Let's go to eat a damn snack. Look what they done to my show.